Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are in this wonderful world of ours. Hi, I'm Alicia Alexander, and we are bringing to you today the Focus Forum, May 1st, 2026. I have a wonderful team of people with me today, and I'm going to introduce them and give them an opportunity to speak about themselves and their businesses and what they want to offer you, the audience, as um, an opportunity to engage with them. Okay, so I'm going to begin with Dr. Danielle Lord, Ph.D.
Well, thanks for having me back, Alicia. It's good to be back with such a great group of folks. As Alicia said, I'm Dr. Danielle Lord. I'm the founder and principal of Archetype Learning Solutions. And I'm not your traditional consultant. I am an academic researcher, and I use that research to produce products that help businesses create happy, harmonious places so employees feel engaged and connected to the work that they're doing. And based on the conversation that we all had 2 weeks ago on AI and the human AI intervention connections, I actually was inspired to develop a 5-part series for humans and a leadership framework so that we can really begin to identify and define what that human AI interface looks like. So watch for that 5-part series. And if anyone is interested, I know Alicia will leave a link below, and I'll do a 15% discount for anyone who is listening and interested in the 5-part course and competency framework. So there you go. It's a little bit about me and what I do.
Dr. Danielle, when does your course begin again? I think I missed it.
Hoping to have it done by the end of this month. So
Oh,
end of May should be ready. It will include a PowerPoint, participant guide, and facilitator guide. So
wonderful. Sounds exciting.
yeah.
Okay, and the next person I'm going to introduce is John Kennedy. He is a neuroplastician. And John, take it away.
Yeah, so I love to help people as well. Most of my work now is based on a program I developed for the Department of Defense over 15 years ago. It basically is the only program of its kind in the world, and we've had almost 20 years of solid results and research that keeps coming out to validate that we're the only program that can physically change your brain to be faster and more focused, starting in as little as an hour using very non-digital exercise we developed that are very simple to use, but also very powerful. So I've had the fortunate experience of training Navy SEALs, snipers, and pilots, entrepreneurs, business owners to get more done in less time. I have a surgeon who can do a 6-hour operation in just 2 hours now, twice as many patients plus home with his family. And because everything flows through our brain, we've also been able to help everybody on the struggling end of the spectrum. So that's expanded to include ADHD and autism, but also strokes, dementia, emotional issues. And I love to talk to people about helping them. We have several different programs for families, for kids, for athletes, for business. We just developed I'm pretty excited about it. It's a brain booster boot camp. So over the course of 10 days, we can significantly improve the ability of your brain to process information. So I'd like to give anybody who would, I'll give Alicia, will put the link out there, a free 20-minute consultation because we help so many people. If you tell me more about where you're struggling, where you'd like to improve, I can tell you how we can do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. And not last but not least, we're all equally here, is Tara, and she is a doctoral candidate at Grand Canyon University.
I am. I am. Um, so what I do with Next Evolution Consulting is I help individuals and organizations strengthen their leadership from the inside out by developing their confidence, hope, optimism, perseverance, and their spirit. And the purpose through the CHOPS method, which is a method that I developed based on all of my research, similar to Dr. Lord. It's academic research that at its finest. So my work basically turns personal growth into practical action so people can lead with resilience and clarity and make that lasting impact. And my link is in, you have my link. And I do offer a 30-minute free consultation after they take their CHOPS gap assessment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel. And thank you so much, John. Myself, I'm Alicia Alexander. My business is Make a Difference Consulting, besides the Focus Forum, of course. And I, too, am a doctoral candidate at Grand Canyon University, albeit I took some time on a sabbatical to build my business. And so I just completed 4 years of research and practical application called the Organizational Excellence Model System. It's a complete system that is applicable to your AI of choice. Me, I particularly am privy to engage with ChatGPT. So in practical explanation of my experience with building it, I've had a great time putting out articles, developing ebooks based on the organizational excellence model system. So, but as a discount, I offer a free discovery call with me, and we can discuss other options in the discovery call. So today we're going to be talking about engaging with employees. And since Dr. Danielle was the one who submitted the topic, I'm going to let her lead off. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alicia. And everyone, it's good to be back with you all again today. And employee engagement is one of the areas that I really focus on in my work. And we are continuing to see, since Gallup began really measuring seriously employee engagement about 2009, we're seeing a second year of decline again. So we reached our high in about 2022, probably because everyone was working from home and super excited that they didn't have this long commute that bookended their long day of stress and frustration. They were spending more time at home with their family. They were, I think, really experiencing work-life balance that it probably never experienced before. In 2024, we saw the first decline and the first ever year in which managers began to indicate that they were not engaged. And that trend has followed again in 2025. We've seen another 1-point decrease and another decline in managerial engagement. So it's the lowest it's been in quite some time. And that means really with this score of 20%, that means that only 20% of your employees are engaged. Let me say that again. 20% of your workforce is engaged. 80% are saying that they are disengaged. That means ultimately the big picture, what does engagement mean? Everyone always asks me, well, what does engagement mean and how is it different from satisfaction? And we can talk about that if the conversation goes there. But that means that only 20% of your team is actively working for the success of your organization. Everyone else is complacent, apathetic, hurt, distressed, lonely. And when we do that, we think about us. Right, John, the neuroplastician?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what happens to us. It's just how our brains are, how we're hardwired, and we go into that place of self-preservation. So I'm going to open it up. I'll stop there, open it up to folks and see what John and Tara and Alicia, you guys, what are your thoughts on this and where we're at with this? And then I can dive into a little bit about what the report said as well.
I'm actually very curious from, the business standpoint, what is their lost revenue? If only 20% are being productive and engaged, how much lost revenue is really there?
Exactly. And how many strategic goals aren't being met? And yeah, I think the estimates, Tara, and I don't know how they estimate this. I hear numbers and my eyes start to glaze over, but the rough estimates are it's a $9 billion industry loss.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. 9 billion with a B.
Yeah, that's just, how do you wrap your head around that? You
Yeah.
know? I mean,
Yeah.
so what are their thoughts on, you know, reversing or repairing or what, you know?
Well, if I
Oh,
may,
Yeah.
I too saw the Gallup report because when I first began my company, and my doctoral journey, I ascribed to the work of Dr. Gary Chapman and Dr. Paul White, who are known for, well, specifically Dr. Gary Chapman is known for the 5 love languages. And
Right.
right.
he has 2 segments of that schooling, the personal relationship one and the corporate relationship book, which is called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. I taught, I gained a lot of knowledge from Dr. Paul White and consequently Dr. Gary Chapman through their work, but personally, Dr. Paul White. And so looking at my application of what I learned in the organizational excellence model, the place that many organizations are missing it is an authentic appreciating their employees.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
I
And
completely agree.
here's the thing. We don't all appreciate in the same way.
Yeah.
So it is highly imperative for organizations, companies, businesses, if you will, to get to know their employees, not treat them as human capital, not treat them as a commodity, but treat them as people who want to work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
desire to put their best foot forward for an organization that cares about them.
Yeah.
That's what it's
Right.
about.
That's it right there. That's absolutely it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
Right.
you want to know your employees, have a conversation. Um, I myself, I'm visualizing the opportunity to welcome business leaders into what I call a day conference to say, okay, this is what we need to do to engage with our employees and receive the response of productivity that you're looking for. It starts with trigger words, neural leadership. How's that going for you in your neural leadership? If you don't know what that is, let's talk about it. Let's make it
Mhm.
effective within the organization because that's the beginning. What are your words? I hope your words are not like I once heard from a manager say, oh, they're lazy.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
If that's your words, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, these are things we hear. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Alicia. I hear these same things. And you once asked me, and we didn't have a lot of time to go into it, but I will oftentimes tell managers this is sabotage. And the reason I say it isn't to point the finger back at the employees, but sometimes you have to put it in a language that is going to kind of rattle them. And if you say, it's your employees will have a much better experience when they're working in an environment where they feel cared for. I don't think they hear it. In fact, I'm to the point now where it's like, do they even give a damn? I don't even know if they do. So put it in a language that they understand. This is costing you dollars and cents. This is
And
sabotage.
that is what they understand right
And
there.
that's what they understand. And that's why I am sometimes that brutally blunt about it when I have the conversation, because nothing else seems to get through to them.
Right. No, that is
Well,
very true.
I don't know if you remember Deming. And
Mhm.
basically he puts all the responsibility on management, right? Not the
Yeah.
employees. And as you said, it's just good leadership. And you're right. If they can put it in terms of dollars, then maybe someone will understand. But it's leadership's responsibility to get
Yes, it
them
is.
engaged, whatever that takes. A
Mhm.
lot of our work is with teams, and what we do, the neuroplasticity training exercise is very engaging. They all support each other, but if they're not doing that, if they don't see the goal in that, and that's why sometimes it's best to do that, right? Couch it in terms of increased productivity, which means more money for the company, more bonuses, but that's got to come from the top.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does. You know, one thing that I thought was really interesting in this, since we're, kind of looking and heading down this path of, the human side of this and having to come from the top, I found this statistic really, really interesting. That 40% of managers and about 30% of individual contributors are reporting that they're lonely and that
Yeah.
they're experiencing loneliness in the workplace. And I thought that
Well,
was really interesting. And that to me says humans are really craving connection with one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, and it depends on what generation we are, but I think a lot of that goes back to when everything was shut down from COVID. You had to be on it. I mean, you can only do so much over Zoom, right? I mean, even the younger generation, they don't go out to the bars anymore and hang out with their buddies after work. I mean, it did, that whole social part of it was taken away, and I think it's very difficult for them to get back engaged. And so then for loneliness, so they turn to something online, and that's not really engagement. That's not really human connection.
Yeah, so true.
Going back to
Well, and
the
then
authentic
tapping.
appreciation of your employees, one of the pillars within that thought is work, acts of service, and quality time. If your quality time is scoring low, what's going on? Are you just expecting people to work as robots and not and to temporarily receive feedback or not give feedback at all? With the team environment, it's just no I in team. But there's got to be something that says, okay, I'm a leader here. I'm going to involve my people in a way that they will feel connected.
And there's so many things they could do. I mean, and again, that's why they need us, right? To help them vision what they need to do. I remember one company I consulted to, the owner actually just started giving out, I don't remember how much it was, like $100 or something a month to employees, but they couldn't spend it on themselves. They had to do something with it to help someone else. It could be a charity, it could be kids or something, and they could pool their money together to do more. So you found a lot of people just didn't even know each other, but let's work, and they came up with ideas and they contribute. It wasn't their company's money, but the impact on the teamwork and communication was huge because they were encouraging to do something good for someone else. That, of course, goes to that authenticity and, the charity part of us that we want to do. So, I mean, all kinds of things that companies could do, but they have to be aware of it. Maybe this article will be a eye opener for them, right, Danielle?
It could be. It could be. Let's hope. Yeah, actually, in my book, Engaging Your Employees, I have 12 what I call heart-centered strategies that are all about simple ways to make those human connections that cost nothing to you. They're all completely free. And so for that very reason, Alicia, that you mentioned, what's the quality of your day like when you show up at the office? So it's doing those small things like providing happy brain chemicals, having quality one-to-ones.
In the case of the authentic appreciation, that's called tangible gifts.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a person's appreciation language. In the personal side, it's called love language, but in at work, it's called appreciation. So if their appreciation language is not being addressed, whether it's words of affirmation, quality time, tangible gifts, acts of service, or physical touch, and again, in the workplace, the physical touch is a good handshake, a pat on the back, a fist bump, a high five. If those things are not being addressed, that's isolation, and that's not what we need at work.
Which is a level of trauma. It's what they call level 2 trauma. So it's that slow, kind of insidious mental, emotional trauma that we get from isolation. It's not the big event, the earthquake, the car accident that we tend to associate with trauma, but it's a different sort of trauma, but it's just as real and has just as lasting sometimes more long-lasting consequences than the actual physical event that might occur.
Well, and it goes back to what we talked about last time, is that's what's driving people to have relationships with AI,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
To the point where they have romantic relationships, they kill themselves. I mean, terrible stuff
Yeah.
happening because they crave that connection so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it speaks to that loneliness that people are experiencing
Right.
as well.
Mhm.
Right.
Alicia, you said something interesting, and I know that there's a lot of kind of resistance to referring to yourself or others as human assets, but I tend to push back on that a little bit. And here's why. Because, and my husband told me this, and he's an engineer, he works with equipment, high-speed manufacturing equipment. And he said it's really bad when the equipment is better cared for than the humans in the organization.
Yeah.
You know, he said we have schedules, we have really rigid schedules of how we're going to work with the equipment every month. Every month the equipment gets a little check over that, you know, the touch, the quality time, some type of
Right.
reward that the equipment is getting. And yet we have managers that are continuing to ignore the one-to-ones, walk down the hallways, you know, reading something and avoiding everybody else. And so I think in the last video I did, it was like, maybe if we refer to humans as human assets, we can assign that dollar associated to
Right.
the humans and say they're valuable, we're valuable too. So
Well,
Right.
that I like the way you say that, because it kind of makes me think. My husband used to be a bouncer for, and he did some bodyguard work and stuff like that. And one of the things that he always says, like, he'll get complimented on opening my door or something like that. Oh, you're such a gentleman. He goes, no, I'm protecting my asset.
Right.
And and it took me a while to be like, why am I'm not your asset. He goes, no, you are an asset. We've put too much into your brain. You are an asset.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Be careful if
yeah,
he asks for you to sign a insurance policy that's like $1 billion or something. Be careful of that.
Right?
Right. Right.
yeah, but we're a different sort of asset. And I think you touched on something, Tara. Every employee comes into the organization with a big brain and they all want to contribute, and we have this
Yeah.
experience and what did I call it? It was expertise, experience, and education. Whether your education is formal or informal, you come into the organization with that experience and that education, and that equates to expertise. And yet we're finding people are bringing their expertise into the conversations, and they're told that their opinion doesn't matter. They're told they're wrong. They're told to not ask questions. They're told that they're causing disruption. And so how are we utilizing the brain power that individuals bring into the organization? And I think that's
Right.
really driving disengagement as well.
Yeah. I mean, before I knew any of this, I knew teamwork. And, I was a district manager for a retail chain, and it was about, okay, guys, we are a team. I might make the final decision, but we are a team. I need your input. I value your input. What do you guys think about this? This corporate wants us to go this direction. Is it going to fit our little town? Is it going to fit this store? And so, not that I was pushing back at corporate at all, but I want them to understand these are the pressures that I was getting. I need to help you understand that there's more to just work than. Make sure you take the dog, please. Sorry, one of the dogs got stuck in my office.
That's okay.
Was looking at me like, hello. But when we created that team, not only did confidences go up, responsibilities went up. Everyone felt that sense of responsibility within the different stores, and which increased our profits because everyone felt engaged and valued. And I think that's, that thing that we are losing. That's,
I think that goes back to kind of what you guys are saying. I mean, it goes back to leadership, but also you think about the assets. Management has to embrace that part of leadership. I remember, so one part of my career, I was kind of a specialist where I would solve, problems that were out of control, right? Big projects, small projects, and they couldn't figure it out, right? So they bring me in, and the first thing I always did was, I mean, I knew everyone in that room on that team knew a lot more than I did, right? I didn't have the answer. So I would always tell them, I said, look, you are the guys that have all the answer. My job is just to pull it together, get us across the finish line. And so everyone had a different idea, a different opinion. And I listened to all of them. And we all as a team listened to all of them.
Mhm.
And then so they got the validation and they felt, and then if someone came up with a great idea, I said, great, what do you need to make that happen? So now I give them the resources. I'm not going to give them the answers, but it was a great way to pull everybody together. And then when we actually were successful, I gave them all the credit. But I think that's part of the management structure that's missing. I know a lot of management got fired over the last few years, right? With the whole shutdown. And I think maybe a lot of the good ones were gone. But I think those are the kind of things we can bring to organizations just to change that paradigm. Right.
Yeah.
We're great. I mean, the same people, right? Just change that paradigm on how they lead their teams so they can give their teams the affirmation that will make them, much more engaged.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For sure. But we have so many other challenges around that too, right, John? We have employees who are employers who do not believe in the value of development or what development even means.
Right.
We have a lot of, I used to believe it was all ego driven, a lot of this, but now I think a lot of it is fear based because we have people who don't really know what it is that they need to be doing. They think it sounds exciting and sexy to get into these management level roles, and then they get in and they have that oh crap moment of I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not going to let anyone know that I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think there's some of that tension in duality with the ego, but there's a lot. I know it sounds so simple to just say, just change your mindset and be open and care about people. But
if it was only that simple.
Truly.
There's a lot of legacy mental models out there that just don't support that.
Right. And you're absolutely right with fear. I mean, everything's changed. People, management too, they're worried about AI. They're worried about what's going to happen to the company. Look at how many people are being laid off now, which means that for the 3,000 people that were laid off from, I remember which company it was, those are managers too that are gone.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right. I think there's a fear there and that's got to come again from the upper top, the very top. The CEO's got to, in the military, they call it commander's intent, right? He's got to affirm what he wants from his people and then make sure he doesn't just fire them to make more money with using an AI system. That's to really value them.
No, I think that's amazing. I mean, but what if I'm going back a couple years to ministry stuff, and what I found was the ministry leaders above us would put in leaders that weren't qualified. And so that's where the fear kicked in. That's where the ego kicks in. And well, I'm the leader now, so you have to listen to me. No,
that's not how Jesus led, right?
Right? Yeah. I mean,
first,
so
you'd be last.
So but that goes into corporate also.
Yeah,
some of these people that are put into leadership positions don't know what they're doing. So yes, their fear kicks in. However, their ego is also
their ego.
Because now they're in a leadership position over the people that they were working side by side with. So, there's
Well, let's define this. I mean, we all in workplace desire promotion. But why or when is a promotion appropriate? It's when we master the basics. There was a football coach, I forget his name right now, that was always encouraged their guys. I mean, he at one point held up a football and just like, what is this? And I forget his name. I wish I could remember his name, but he made them say, it's a football. And what game are we playing? Helping them to realize, master the basics. Until you master the basics, that's when the promotion to leadership is appropriate.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like. Speaking of football, Tony Dungy was really good about encouraging and training and lifting up where necessary. And when his guys did go into a leadership position, they were prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were prepared for the challenges. They had someone that in Coach Dungy, they had, you know, this support system that if they were unsure, they could reflect, you know, talk back to. I totally recommend his first book. It is amazing.
I just wrote an
I'm
article.
generally not a big football coach book person, but Tony Dungy was, you know,
I
he
just wrote an
surprised
article
the
this
heck out of
past
me.
week on LinkedIn talking about preparation. Preparation, according to Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 through 9. The fact that Joshua waited to get the directive from God himself about taking over from Moses. And then the way that God encouraged him, one, to dispel the fear and to not let instructions depart from him. And so, how do we apply that to today's world? Dispel the fear, first of all. If somebody gets promoted, it's because they deserved it. They mastered the basics. That's what we will hope for.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that we could hope that that's the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they did get that promotion, it's not because they're going to take your job. It's because they are here to be a part of the team. The only one who should ever have to address fear is the owner. And that's to support their organization or the board of directors, the board of
the
board, you know, dispel the fear. And then allow the organization to master their skills with the employees, customers, and stakeholders.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, it's such an important point that you bring up about being able to master the skills. And I've seen in, you know, my work, doing this work for 34 years, I have seen time and time again where people are promoted, well, because they brought in a big contract, or because they closed a big contract, or because they brought in a lot of money. So that to me is not demonstrating mastery. That's demonstrating profit. And I think those people are promoted for the wrong reason all the time. And I've had CEOs or, you know, vice presidents ask me, gee, I've got these two internal candidates. Which one should I be thinking about for promotion? Because you are the director of our leadership development, what are you seeing? I said, well, I can tell you what I see in the classroom. This candidate is not ready for promotion. This one is ready for promotion. Guess who always got promoted? The one I said, the one that's not ready. They're not showing up, or they're showing up because they're told to show up. They're not, when they are there, they're on their phone the whole time, or they're jumping up to take an important phone call, or. That is not promoting for mastery. That's promoting for profit. And I think we see way too much of that.
Right.
Totally agree.
But what happens when you get promoted for profit and they can't perform anymore?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And I think one of the things we've not done a good job of is explaining what does it mean when you get promoted. And that's where I think that fear piece comes in. And what do we do when we get into a place of fear, John? We do what we're really good at, right?
Yeah, exactly. We fall back to, absolutely.
We fall back to that behavior. And so what I see is people becoming better individual contributors. So you haven't become a good leader or a good manager. You've made yourself a better individual contributor. And then what happens is what I call role compression. We're familiar with wage compression, right? We now have role compression, meaning I'm taking on the work and everyone else is just an exalted executive assistant because I'm the one that's got to be doing the work because it's all I know.
You know, I think I remember reading a couple of years ago that, you know, when all this, you know, financial stress was going on, one of the things that companies did is they cut out training.
Yes,
it's
always the first to go.
Sales where they cut out training. And what you're saying is exactly the effect of that, right? Without good leadership training, without team building, all those kind of things that are so important for those relationships, those are the things that were cut.
Always.
And now that, and obviously we see the results of that.
Yeah, that was not one of the wisest corporate decisions.
No, that's when things are tough is when you need to invest more in training.
Right?
Yes, the
Exactly.
investment. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I can tell you, having been having done this work for 30 years, always the first to go. Always.
Yeah,
Always the
right.
first to go, always the last to get rehired.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
here's the thing. I recently heard someone who's in an executive role tell me that their work environment changed because they brought in somebody from the outside, and that person who was brought in excluded the
Right.
momentary times of coming together by the employees. They used to, I think it was a matter of like when it was football season, come together and do like the office pool and stuff like that. And it wasn't because they were trying to augment their income, it's because they were coming together and having camaraderie and discussing
Right.
things that
Yeah.
affected the internal workings of the company. And so
Right.
when that person from the outside came in and excluded that, it was back to isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right,
Yep.
right. Yeah, I
That
remember
mentality of, oh, yeah, that water cooler conversation is not productive.
my
Mhm.
my brother, he was a big basketball fan, and he ran a great company, sold it, but I mean, his employees loved him. But speaking about that, what he would do, not only would he have a pool for everybody, but he would allow everybody to take time off from work to go watch the games, right? So they're all from all over. I mean, you've got executives, you've got technical people, whatever, all together watching the game together and watching the progress to see who could win on the pool. That made such a huge difference. And what did it cost them?
Yeah.
It didn't cost them much at all, but it made such a difference on the team. And what you're talking about, Alicia, that's true. You bring someone from the outside, and a lot
Mhm.
of times companies will bring someone from the outside, and their whole goal is to be as profitable as possible. They bring them in to cut costs, and they do things what you just talked about. And
Yeah.
the damage is often irreversible.
So let me ask this question. Is there, and I know we're not all accountants here, we're more human resources and people attraction, but is there such a thing as looking at the financial statements or whatever reports that we get and coming up with a not necessarily a plan, but a way, a methodology that can help say, okay, if we did this with our teams, we are more apt to be innovative and be more participatory because we're still dealing with employee engagement versus letting someone come in and cut costs and get rid of stuff that are necessary to build camaraderie within the work environment. Is that such a thing?
I don't know if there is such a thing. I know there's a lot of cost of turnover calculators that calculates in things like lost product, loss of relationships, both internal and external relationships, cost of knowledge transfer, et cetera. I don't know if such a thing exists. I suppose you could build it, but I think there's a lot of variables that maybe too many variables to account for some good tangible results that you could get. And this is a very non-finance person talking finance language, which is never a good.
I did say
To me,
that.
it just seems like there's too many unknown variables to ever go into something like that. Yeah. I want to. You brought in
some homework assignment. Have each of us find an accountant and ask them the question.
Yeah. But you brought up a really good point about the outsiders coming in, and in my book, Engaging Your Employees, I share a lot of stories. This one I didn't share, and maybe I need to write a sequel. But when I was a long-term care administrator and worked really hard with this one organization to build a really good culture in which everyone felt valued and rewarded and appreciated for their hard work based on a set of shared values that the whole team came up with. It was really driving the culture for improvement. And when I was let go, the owners brought in their best friend to run the business, and so I was let go. And lots of tears, lots of teary calls. We're so sad that you're gone. We're going to really miss you. That was day one. Day two, I had probably 3 calls from caregivers in extreme, they were extremely upset, really crying, big crocodile tears. He came in and ripped down all of our all of our shared values. And the new guy, the best friend, of the owners, because we had our shared values were printed and posted all over the building, so everyone could see them. They were very visible, and he systematically walked throughout the entire building and tore them all down. And
why would he do that?
well, he wasn't a very nice guy.
He was
Was he
doing
trying to
those peacock
sabotage his friend's
feathers.
job? Business,
he was peeing all over everything, but but
Well,
that was more devastating to the team than anything else. Was him taking that physical artifact that they had created and saying it was worthless.
Well, and that's a great way to get support. Huh? Poke a finger in everybody's eye.
Yeah. So
is the business still involved? I mean, in active?
Pardon?
Is the business still active?
Gosh, that was 25 years ago. I think the building is still there, but I don't know what came of it ultimately. Okay. So yeah. But a lot of challenges for sure. A lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we're having such a great conversation. Does anyone else have like a specific incident of employee engagement that you want to talk about?
I think we've covered some. I think the general thing is that management has to care, right? And they have to make sure they communicate that. Obviously, tearing down everybody's hard work is not the way to do that, right?
Not the way to do it.
Soliciting ideas, and again, it goes back to the fear thing, right? The managers have to not be fearful of, I mean, the goal is to have people better than you on your team, right? You don't want to, if you're fearful that someone's going to make you look bad, then that's not a way to lead.
My logic is, as a leader, was always have people around me, surround myself with people that knew more than me in the different areas. I might be really good in this area, but this is not, life is not a singular area. We have, work, a job, an organization is not a singular entity. It's a culmination of a lot of different things, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different tasks that all have to come together in a unified way. And if your leadership doesn't see that, they need to be a better person and surround themselves, then they're not a very good leader.
Well, and that's leadership responsibility, get to know each one of their people as well as possible. One of my, Bob Blackwell, a mentor guy I worked for many years ago, brilliant guy. I remember he would say, well, the problem is, a lot of managers, what they do is they give all their attention to the A's, right? Because they think it's going to make them look good. He goes, no, A's just want to be left alone. Leave the A's alone, invest in the B's to become A's, and then fire the C's, right? So that way, you're always investing in your people so they can become better leaders, which then helps you do your job better.
Or understand why the C's are C's.
Yeah, or understand. Yeah, exactly. Why? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I have all kinds of stories in my book, so that are all engagement related.
Say the title so that the audience can hear it.
It is Engaging Your Employees, 12 Heart-Centered Strategies to Drive Strategic something. So
Is it
Yeah,
on Amazon or
it
is
is
it out
on,
yet?
yeah, thank you. It is on
All right,
Amazon.
good.
Yep.
Look
Okay.
that
Yeah.
up.
So, and it's just full of stories of, the good, the bad, and the ugly of employee engagement.
So it's like a lived experience type book.
My,
Yeah.
my experience of managing employee engagement, the employee engagement process in enterprise-wide level work. Yeah. And anyway. Yeah.
It sounds interesting. I'm going to look it up soon, we're done from here. But
All of
definitely,
now the
yeah.
nice thing about the book is that I have they're all free strategies, every one of them. And actually I created a toolkit to go along with it too.
Oh, wow.
And so there are QR codes in the back of the book. Each strategy has a QR code. So if you scan the QR code, then you can get downloads, complimentary downloads.
Beautiful. So
Oh.
generous. Yeah.
Yeah,
What would else I expect from you?
I just want people to be happy at work. It shouldn't hurt to go to work, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
I
right.
second that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I've heard of people who literally, excuse me, would be sick, physically sick
yes.
when they thought about going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I know somebody here in Rhode Island with me. She's working independently now and she's doing much better, but she would be physically sick to go to work.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. It should
unnecessary.
be.
That just speaks volumes about the organizational
Doesn't it? Yes, it
Right.
does.
Right.
Yes,
leadership
it
and
does.
yeah.
But okay, so my personal experience is in 1989, my first job. Yeah, I overheard a manager say that we bring them in young and burn them out. What kind of leadership skill is that?
It's not. It's not. It's awful. That's not
Yeah.
even bad management. That's just really crappy behavior.
Yeah.
On the spectrum, right? You've got leadership, you've got good management, bad management, and then just really awful behavior. I don't think you
Well,
should
and
Just
I
below
think,
the apple behavior.
yeah, I think as if you're trying to be a good person, then your management will kind of morph
Yeah.
along with you. If you're trying to do what's right, you're going to exemplify what that behavior should be,
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you're just a crass, grabby, whatever type of person, that's going to be.
Yeah. You're gonna bring it to work, aren't you,
Yeah.
Tara? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But doesn't
So
that go back to the scripture that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks?
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I know this is not Bible study right now, but that just came to mind.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Mhm.
It's funny. So much of my career, even before the brain training, was as a consultant, and so many of the things they paid me for, they didn't really need if they were just better managers, right? I mean, how often they come in a big problem, don't know how to solve. I knew that the person who had the best answers to solve the problem were the people closest to the problem, which meant they're the lowest people on the totem pole, right? And I
Yeah.
would then and I bring the ideas and put the team together, and then we produce the solutions to senior management. They could have done the same thing. Get out of your corner
Exactly.
office, go down and spend time with your people, and you'll learn all this
Right?
stuff,
Yeah.
right? But they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Good for me, but not so much for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dr.
I've found that so many leaders, they're afraid to be vulnerable
Mhm.
because they don't want to be portrayed as weak
Yeah.
or, not a good leader or whatever their excuse in their head is. But I also find from personal experience that when I am vulnerable, I get more support, and
Oh,
people
wow.
get to know me more. And, so there's value in vulnerability. It's not just, I mean, Brene Brown. I mean,
Mhm.
if anyone's
Mhm.
familiar with her, it's all about the vulnerability,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it's such an important trait that as leaders we need to learn, whether it be through experience or, whatever, but it's something that needs to be part of who we are. you know.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I would
that's my
agree.
2 cents.
It's a very human characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to be
It is.
vulnerable and to
I
need.
have one last question that I want to ask um, for us to think about. In my article that's based on Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 to 9, the feedback that I got from ChatGPT is that it's proximity. How much proximity should we have as leaders with our staff, with our followers, um, that demonstrates that we care about them in an effective way? Not just a wishy-washy, oh, I love you type of way, but in an effective way to help them become who they are. How much skill is necessary to develop that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And proximity, that's a touchy issue with some people, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of managers have an open door policy. Another one's, they feel that it's too important to do things. I think what you mentioned before, I mean, just walking around, that was always the best thing. Just, you remember the old management by
Management by
walking
walking
around?
around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's proximity. And that's a way that people feel that you care about them and you're invested in them. I think that's a really important step that leaders can take.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they have to understand, going back to that, I mean, there are other people, everyone, they're their responsibility, right? And their success is, as was it Zig Ziglar had said, if you want to be successful, make other people successful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what the management has to do for their people.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I want to be surrounded by good leaders. So if, one of my friends or, somebody around me is not a good leader, I'm going to pull them aside and I'm going to talk to them. Well,
Yeah,
look, this particular, everything else is great, but this is, you need to work on this. This is why it's lacking. This is why, and not just, you know, oh, that was horrible. Well, okay,
Right.
give me some feedback.
Yeah.
So, and I may not be the best at a certain situation, but I also know, well, why? Not because I'm being defiant or defensive, but I want to get better. So please explain to me why you think I'm not where I need to be in this particular situation, And so after, people telling me I was rebellious because I was asking why, I finally was like, you know what? That's a leadership skill that I'm going to learn from and I'm not going to imitate. you know? I'm,
Right.
and
right.
over the years, there's a lot of leadership skills that I learned, some good, some bad, some I utilized, some I just threw that bathwater right out the door, but it's okay. Here's what I see. Can you try doing it this way? Or can you try XYZ? See if any of these work for you better. Give some solutions so that they can kind of pick and choose which one might work. Because not everything is going to work for everybody, but if you give them options, then generally they find what works best for them. They're happier and they're a better leader.
Right, right.
I think in terms of proximity, it needs to be team member driven, right? I mean, we as managers or leaders, we open up the door, we create the space to say, I want to have a professional relationship with you, so that we can be connected, and so that you can come to me when you need me, when you're frustrated, we can brainstorm. But I think it's got to be very driven by the employee. It can't be a forced event that happens. And that's what I see a lot of times is, okay, I'm going to be, I call it VAP, vulnerable, authentic, and present now. And I'm going to go in full force with my VAPness, and we're all going to be best friends now. Everyone has a different experience. Everyone's going to respond differently to that. And I think that in terms of that, proximity that you mentioned, Alicia, we've got to let the employees be the ones to set those parameters and say, I'm all in, or I'm going to kind of inchworm my way into this.
What was your A in the VAP? That was really
Authentic,
good.
authentic, vulnerable, authentic, and presence.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good one.
I love that.
Mhm.
Sorry, I was making a note.
She's not only a doctor, but she teaches.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
got a lot of work to do.
absolutely. Well, I thank you all for being here today, May 1st. I'm so excited that it's the spring has sprung, and next month is the beginning of summer. So we're just going to enjoy
Yeah.
this month. We're going to enjoy today. And thank you so much. I appreciate every one of you.
Yeah, thank you. This is fun. I enjoy this.
Yeah,
Great
this is
spending
fun.
time with you guys.
likewise. See you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Great weekend, everybody.
You
The
too.
recording.